So, in Tadasana, sorry, I have to talk to you, don't I? In Tadasana, sitting on the brick, or the block, towards the front edge of it, if you can do one, it's all about getting this part forwards. If you can do that, yeah. If you're way back here and it's a struggle, I'd say go higher, yeah, until you can get this as a starting point. When you start off in this pose, like, took ages to get going anywhere. To start off, maybe that's as far forward as you get. Knees working, thighs working. Okay, and then you try to keep the length of the front body. Strap in each hand. And trying not too much to overcompensate and push those ribs forwards, remember. About that. Breathing broadly across the bottom of the ribs. So back of the neck long. And if I strengthen my legs, I can lengthen through the spine. Don't know if you can see that. And then let yourself. So I'm keeping the length of the spine as far as I can go. Legs are working, keep checking in with the legs. And then I'm going to let my head drop down. I'm going to get an estimate of the height of that, because I would like to rest my head. Might actually need to be a chair brought in. Yeah. Something soft across that I could put my forehead on. I would recommend you give that a go. Okay. And still, even though I've kind of softened into it, let myself come down, I'm still from time to time re-energizing that length through the top part of the body, into the back of it, into the crown of the head. It's going that way now. And come up. Okay. So, I wonder if I should do that with some of this on. So, you can see with the light fading, this camera's not really holding up the same way. So, lifting into the sternum, the crown of the head, and protecting the chin by drawing this back. Slight tilt down, draw back. And I'm not trying to come down, I'm trying to lengthen towards the feet. Active legs. Lift and lengthen your spine up from those strong legs. They're your staple base. Elbows come out to the side as you go further in. And then come out. Dandasana. Okay, so. So we're going to do a bit of chest opening, you know, kind of passive, supported. So we're going to do a gentle kind of back arch and chest opener. Yeah, really just allow the lungs lots of room in a way that they really don't get much of a chance on our sort of day-to-day stuff. Right, need to build a platform for you to lie back onto. Probably as much as that's getting. start and go higher. Draft these fellas in. So not ideal in that. It should all be sort of on the one level. That might work. Okay, and we should. I wonder if I can sacrifice a half block. Just like something. We'll see if I need that for my head. I probably don't need the same support there. Have a blanket close by that you can sort of haul around yourself once you're in the pose, and there's no reason you can't look fabulous. Try not to dunk it in your tea. So, right, whatever way, that's probably the least stable looking. Honestly, if I was in a younger teacher now, I think they'd sack me for this. Anyway, suits the purpose. Sit in front of it. So you want to kind of have a hand's distance off this. This part of my back I don't really want to be supported on it. So you're coming back, I'm arching back. I'm really trying to keep the ribs sort of moving like that now. That's not quite comfortable. I just use some tummy muscles and hands to come up on. So really, that's better. Okay, and then straight legs. So I'm supported really from the backs of the ribs there. Tuck my shoulder blades in so they're flat. Back of the neck long. If that's a bit sticky up or your throat's a bit tight, you need a bit more height. Okay, and I might just do that. So it's a solid block, but it's the right height, so that'll do. Chin's a wee bit tucked in there, that's fine, but it's giving me the space at the back of the neck. And you can, if you're going to make any sort of minor adjustments, bend your knees. Yeah, you can roll a little bit. I'm helping it, controlling it with my elbows. Yeah, and then sit bones back down. Don't overarch the back to get there. If you need to, move down, and then go further down the mat. So I'm going to keep the legs switched on, but not, you know, maximal. They're just enough to keep the toes pointing up at the ceiling and avoid that. And then that's the position. So really opening up, yeah, tuck the shoulder blades in and down the back, broad across here, across the diaphragm. Yeah. Don't necessarily try to work it out. Yeah, especially if you've got an anatomical, physiological bent. Yeah, start with your subjective experience of being in the pose. So let's see if I can throw this. We'll try and so place the upper body so well. Well crowded. Okay, careful with coughing. You know, if it's explosive, you might not want to be here. Tuck a toe under that. Now, use your inhalation to keep you aware of where you are in the room. Exhale, get heavier under your support. So I'm actually sit bones on the ground, and then I'm pretty much arching back until there's some contact, incidental, but the support really starts here at the bottom of my back ribs and goes up underneath my shoulder blades. Yeah. And I'm using this support to keep the back of my neck low. across to the feet are slightly wider than the hips. And that reminds me just to go back to them, keep them switched on. So any niggles, move, any pain is not acceptable. It's not a developmental thing. Okay. But look out for what happens in your mind, in your I've described monkey mind as just constantly flitting about the tree of your synapses. Yeah. Sometimes it's that wants you to move. Listen out for that and just observe it. Breathe in, breathe out. So it's like an agitation to move, but there's no pain, there's no niggle. You look closer. Oh, is there really a reason to move? Okay. This part of my mind seems to have power over me. Let's just observe that. And if you have to move, find yourself moving, don't worry about it. It's just, okay, that's observed. It's not judged, it's just observed. But if you can just be there with it and the agitation of it, what you find is the urge to move starts to dissolve. If your talking brain kicks off and is telling the story of how you're lying back here, it's normal, but just when you notice it, just deliberately put it down. Not censoring your thoughts, you just showing them to be irrelevant to the experience of just being here. Just let your brain come and goes as it pleases. And I think if you're comfortable in this position, you're feeling supported, you're feeling kind of even, right and left, then it's hard to keep track of my own thoughts. Yeah, then might be 2 or 3 minutes in this pose. I might do this of a stressful evening, or if I need to, I'll cut it. Get myself re-energized. Or the body's tired from the day and the brain is just accelerating through the evening. Yeah, it's good for that. Marry those two things up. So you can press pause and just continue on with this, but I'm going to come out of this, I'm going to prepare to. So you've been lying backwards in this arch, you might be a bit stiff, a bit achy just because of the low movement. So I'm going to bring, I'm squeezing around my shoulder blades and, moving the hips up and down. Bringing some small movement now. I'm going to bring the feet up and tuck my chin in. Use my arms or my elbows or whatever I need. Yeah. To roll up so I can feel the ache in that between where I don't really move, sort of there to there. That's interesting, but that doesn't persist past this. In fact, it feels like there's blood flow into the area. I can feel it sort of a warmth to it. So, there we go. Second of 3 is what I know in one of the backbench classes I taught this as an active pose, and to be honest I was surprised by it was still called Setubandha Sharvangasana or Sarvangasana, however it sounds compared to how it's spelled. You require a wall and you require 3 blocks, or if you're going to use, I'm going to try and use a cushion. These are great because they're really sort of firm and even. Decent compressible height. Let's see. you're going to need a wall at this end. So this is the version that I'm familiar with. It's the supported version, and thanks to Jer for asking about it and remind me of. We did used to do this in our Cardiff classes at various times, and yeah, there's really there's a lot of value to it. Let's see how it goes. See how you feel. So, maybe if right, okay. I'm going to teach it in a way that's kind of easy for me to work with. Right, first, I'll use these blocks, yeah. And you need a belt, any kind of belt or a tie, whatever. Okay. And you need feet into a wall. So, let's see, that's too high. I have to do pretend wall. Use that. Okay. That will be my pretend wall. Recommend you move yourself to a wall. So out to one side. So any adjustment happens when everything's on the floor, okay? If you're up and into this and you need to change some stuff, generally speaking, come down. The bigger the change, the more definite that, the more that suggestion becomes an instruction. Right. Okay, I'm faffing now. Kind of always brings me back to when I was doing my sort of teacher training, and the feedback from the pass or fail exam after 2.5 years was like, once it gets organised, he's really quite good. Something like that. Very younger people, the praise couldn't have been as big. So, right, tricky one to get into this. There's all sorts of measurements used. So, feet into the wall and sitting out. Okay, that might be where your hips are. And you are going to, when you get up into this, it's initially a little bit of a back bend. You're going to position your blocks. So if you imagine I'm now on the floor and I lift my hips, I'm going to slide the blocks in so that they are there. So there is the very bottom of my spine. It's coming like a maybe, what's that, an inch or a bit below. Yeah. So it's the lower part of the back. Yeah. Those muscles, those strong muscles on either side, probably about there. Talk more about it. What's good? So, I know I use 3 blocks. If this is new to you, use 2. Yeah, you could even use 1 if you're really inflexible around the lower back. So, I think that's my distance. Let's see how it all fits together. Feet on the floor, and then I'm going to lengthen my tailbone away from me. It's sort of in line with where I've popped my blocks. So, keep the belt within hand's reach, and I'm going to actually, when I do come up, I'm going to have to come onto the tops of the shoulder. It's very similar to how we practiced the other night, or the other session. Right, so lift the hips, tailbone stays long. Oops, belt is in the way. Slide those blocks in effortlessly. Takes a while, not minutes, to get himself organised. Okay, yes. I think I've got my instruction. So, I'm supporting right up to the tops of the back ribs and just down, however far down that goes. Okay, so it's, and then coming on to the tops of the ribs. So you're doing that same external rotation and the side ribs begin to fan open. I should, as I'm doing this, I'll bring my feet back down again. Just makes it more stable, yeah. And obviously as soon as you're up, you don't turn your head, your nose stays pointing at the ceiling. Okay, so feet to the wall, and what you can do is push into the wall and slide yourself out. Now I'm going to stick to everything, so I'm just going to have to very easy, and the frustrating part of this pose is, okay, I wonder. So you need to be able to push into the wall to feel that sort of ground reaction force pushing back against you, and you're using that to activate the muscles. Now I'm feeling the hip flexors are open, but my tailbone has to stay long. Stays long, so it's that sort of tilt there, broaden across the tummy. It's all of that to stop any pinching in the lower back. And then the belt, so much better, you know, done against the wall. So, that shorts on. Throw it through, belt, and hands are going to be face up, and you walk your hands in towards each other, put your feet back up on the wall. You know, hold a flat foot. So, I shouldn't have done that, see? That's how easy it is. Don't be doing that. And then, you know, easier if you've got a second person, but you can let go of the belt, grab the blanket, and attempt to cover oneself. Yeah. So I've just let go of the belt now, and I'm going to keep that. So I've got the memory of that action. I've got some openness. I've lost some of it because I haven't got the tension of it, but I'm going to use that. Now for the feet, might be worthwhile coming out of this. So you need enough action to keep them on the wall. But what you could also do is maybe have bricks underneath them so your heels are rested. Or a bolster, or maybe that's what the cushions would have worked for. So you can remain in this pose. Yeah. Chest lifting towards the chin, chin down towards the chest, back of the neck long. And supported, the head supported, shoulders supported. Yeah, lower back supported, tailbone long, feet on the wall. Good if you wanted. Drape something across your eyes. So pause this if you want to go longer. Otherwise, bear in mind at some point, well, not otherwise, bear in mind at some point you're going to want to come out. So first thing you do, and even before I take this blanket off, is I'm going to bring my feet to the floor. Okay. And then the blanket off. And you lift and lengthen your tailbone away from you, so you lift up, and then as you come down, you tilt the pelvis like that, lengthen the lower back, and you'll feel. So in order to get that, yeah, you can lift from there, or if that's a bit of a challenge, up on your tiptoes. Yeah, get that height. Now tailbone lengthens away, and you, okay, it's a bit too high, I'll move that down, come down to the new height. Lift again. And keep the tailbone lengthening away, pelvis like that. Lengthen the lower back. And every time it comes down to a lower height, that block can be further away. And up. And lengthen your tailbone away, all the way down. And come up to seated. So I'm just going to roll over onto my right. Right over onto the hips. Up and come, push up. Good, strong, supported spine as you come up. And the last one, Viparita Karani, which is affectionately known as legs up the wall. So I'm going to use, this is going to be my imaginary wall. Okay, I'll try not to break it. Lack of an actual wall, but anyway, there we go. So I'll try this. Don't need this. Oh dear, and Rory's just sleeping out of shot. Isn't he? Okay. So, the way this looks, and we'll have to see what I'll do. Right, so I think that's where I need it. Okay. Right. Okay, last one. So you need to see this sideways on. The general way is to sort of build yourself a platform. Why is that not the same? Oh, it's a half block missing. Yeah, that's sort of wide. And when you sit on it, you know, so when you sit on this, it's going to be supporting you sort of across your sacrum and a little bit higher, and actually your bottom is hanging off the edge. So there's just a little bit of a hang, and then the backs of your legs are supported on the wall, and ideally straight if you've got that, you know, level of flexibility. If you haven't, think about going a little bit higher. Now the other side of this is that you know, that these blocks on their own are just a little bit, they could do with a softer edge. So this is where the natural fibre blanket probably is better. Because these are so compressible, you know, they often move from what you wanted of it. Now, we're not going to worry too much about pleated blanket skills at this point. But that is a sub-discipline of various types of hatha yoga. So, let me see. There's a number of ways to get into this. Let's press play there. Number of ways to get into this, and if you imagine that there's the ground there, this is going to be supported. I'm going to be arching back. My shoulders, the back of my neck and my head are going to be totally supported on the ground, and your nose points up and it doesn't respond to the voice, doesn't move, doesn't, yeah, protect your neck. Yeah, and then legs are up the wall and you're just using enough effort to stop that all collapsing. Okay, so one way to get in is to sit sideways onto the wall and, you know, kind of get yourself down onto an elbow or maybe onto a shoulder, and then you're rolling around. Try not to roll off the blocks. Legs up the wall. You can put your feet on the wall and just, you know, change your support. So I want it a bit more towards the back ribs. Yeah, there we go. Down to the sacrum, and the sit bones are off the edge, and then straighten one leg, ooh, straighten the other. Okay, you can keep them a little bit bent if you need to, but just keep them up the wall like that. Yeah, and if you've bent them, just try every now and again, giving them a little straighten and see where so against the wall, and you're scooping the shoulder blades in and up. Arms wherever's comfortable, you know, at least a bit out to the side. Now this is a proper re-energizer. You know, this is, oh, I think better than a power nap for if you've got to get out and get something done after this. This is where you should finish, I think. So you're broad across the diaphragm. It's kind of splinting, it's working in two halves. It's easy breadth across the base of the... Got that back bend, sort of energizing the nervous system. It's all supported. Keep the legs active enough, keep the heels lengthening up the wall. Now press pause and continue on with this. If you get pins and needles, you've gone a wee bit too far, come out. Okay. Otherwise, just come out when you're ready. So, and I just describe it on. To come out, bend your knees, feet into the wall, like that. And then roll over to whatever way is easier for you. Feet down, knee. Yeah, now you're on a height. Lift your hips up and onto the floor and get yourself comfortable in the sideline. Yeah, I've got a fist there under my head to stop that sort of do you hear that? To stop exactly that sort of creak. And then when you're ready, look down towards the floor, come up, push up with the hands, come around. Okay, there we go. I feel good. I hope it's affected you in a similar fashion, positive fashion. Any questions, give me a shout. Contact at betterwaytobe.life or through the blog, or on the, either the comments or the feedback. And I promise if you send me an email, I won't just read it all out without your permission. Okay. Post it on the blog, it's a bit more public. Yeah. Alright. I might move on and do a Shavasana after that, but I'm just going to film it separately. Namaste. Thank you.